So welcome to week 2 on our right effort for easeful running. So we're focusing this week similar sorts of movements. We're going to be standing for the whole of the session, and we're going to be looking at a little bit more at kind of where we initiate our movement from in order to give us the most support. So if things can be more easeful through that kind of integration, we're going to look at what we do with our arms, particularly what we do with our legs, and how we might make things as straightforward as we can with the movement, so it feels much more kind of supportive and a sense of flow to our movement. Okay, so let's start with feet in happy position. So usually, broadly speaking, for most people, that's kind of hip distance apart. Don't be too worried where the toes are in relationship to the heels. Just find somewhere that feels comfortable. So the first movement is around arms, and some things that we can kind of play with that might help us move more easefully with the arms. So we're going to allow the arms to raise, but unusually, maybe, if the arms will go overhead, we're going to have the back of the hands just come down for a moment. The back of the hands touching rather than the front of the hands. So I'll just stay here for a moment, but you're still standing. So the arms come down and flow up, but we keep the back of the hands in the same place, and they might just touch above the head, and we bring them back down. So we could do that with the arms closed, eyes closed, sorry, and let the arms flow. So this week, I'm not going to mention the breath until right at the end. So you can keep breath background, but keeping the idea that hopefully that you can feel comfortable with the mouth closed and breathing through the nose, and it's the least amount of work that you need to do with the breath. So it's very background. See how it would be to be background. Just continuing as you are. I'm just going to come to standing. And what you could imagine, maybe, is the space that's created below the arms as they go up, and the space that's created with the arms as they come down. So there's space below the arms and out to the side as you go up, and then there's a sense of space above the body and around the body as the arms come down. So we're moving in a space, yeah, in quite a big space. So for some people that doesn't work, you can't kind of do that imagining thing. So don't worry, you're still doing the same thing. You're just allowing the arms to float up in your rhythm and allowing the arms to flow down. Okay, and let's rest the arms. Okay, so different way for arm movements, yeah. So that flowing, that feeling of space maybe. So enjoying that hopeful, easeful movement through the arms. So what we're going to be doing with the legs is we're going to give a little bit more work through the feet to get the legs to go from bent to straight. So this time we're going to take the arms out, but just to shoulder level, so we're not overworking the shoulders too much. So we sweep the arms out just to shoulder level, and we bend the knees. We then straighten the legs as we bring the hands down. So thinking about pressing into the ground as we sweep the arms up and bend the knees. And think about pushing gently from the feet to raise the body as the arms come down. So there's a working together of the arms and the legs, but if any work is being done, it's initiated from the feet. and it's only as much as you need. So this right effort idea is, keep it soft if you can. Don't overwork. Don't put added strain on the body. Don't create tension that doesn't need to be there. So I'm not bending the knees very much. It's not like I'm thinking, oh, I really need to get into a squat here. It's a really subtle bend, and it's just enough movement through the feet and into the legs to get that working. And pause. Okay. So most of you will be familiar with the kind of runner movement that we do, where we kind of go like this. So we're going to be working with a variation of this, but it's a slow motion runner. So we're going to work with the arm and the opposite leg kind of working together. So as you lift the arm up, the opposite leg rises with you, and then that comes down in your swap. So it might be easier if I show you from the side. So this arm comes up, it's almost like it's pulling the opposite knee up, and that goes back to the ground. The arm has a relationship to raising the knee, and the foot goes down. So before we're working on pressing through the feet, now we're working on how lightly could we lift the knee from what feels like a timed connection and a link between the elbow coming forward and the opposite knee rising. So don't be too concerned about how far the elbow goes up and how far the knee comes up. If the knee will come to hip height, and you get that kind of 90 degree between arm and leg positioning, then go for that. So one lightly lifts the other. So I guess if anything, there's a little bit more sense of work through the arms and the rest of the legs. And that is only a sense as we move from one position to another, peeling our foot off the ground rather than a push, more of a peeling foot off the ground rather than a push. So that's even gentler than the pushing relationship that we had before. The idea is we kind of have some way of integrating the movement to make it more easeful. So obviously no closed eyes now, she will fall over. Okay. And take a break for a moment. I'm not doing what it does on this carpet. Okay, I'm just going to move that to over here so that I can really clear over where I am on timing. Okay, so it's always good to move in kind of different vectors with the legs. So what I mean by that is kind of we started with largely hip positioning, and now we're taking the legs wider than shoulder distance. And what I'm suggesting is the toes come out from the heels here. Yeah, toes come out from the heels. And we start with a movement. You can have your hands on the pelvis if that's comfortable. We start with giving weight, like back bending one knee. And we're broadly looking at the knee going towards the toes. So if you need to make adjustment for that to happen, toes going out further than you initially planned, then making that movement. So we're going back to the pushing from the ground idea again. So we push through the foot to initiate the movement. So it only needs to be enough, obviously, because we kind of have a little bit of momentum that will keep us into a lighter movement. We're not looking at a big bend, we're looking at a smooth movement initiated from the foot, and it's almost like we can feel that movement coming up the legs, over the pelvis and down to the other leg. So what you could do is a little bit more weight, pulling the weight up across the body, taking the weight down to the other side. Sense of weight coming up, energy going through and back down. Sometimes if we have an upper body and a lower body connection, flow is a little bit easier. Weight comes up, floats over, weight goes down, weight comes up. And if you do feel like you end up bending the knee more, that's fine. But there's no requirement. Yeah, the requirement is to just feel where the movement is initiated and find the smoothest way to have that transition. Okay, and then let's pause. Okay, so if you bring your hands more into prayer position, palms of the hands together, what we're going to do here is we're going to bend one knee, take the palms of the hands in the opposite directions to the bent knee, but we're going to look over the shoulder in the direction of the bent knee. Okay, so there's more energy for this one, more work if you like, but only as much as you need. So you're going to move from side to side. So there's a little bit of sense of one hand pushing the other hand over to the other side. And there's a little bit of the sense that we had before of pushing down from one foot, the energy work going across the pelvis to the other side. So we're not overworking the neck. We just have a broad, the movement really comes because there's a kind of spiraling work, opposite work, hands to knee. And then the top body is sort of doing yet another counter to the arms. So top body and bottom body are working in unison. Kind of like the center is having a different role to play. One hand pushes to the other hand gently. It's not much going on there, but there's a feeling of movement through energy and initiation of one hand to the other hand, one foot to the other foot, and a gentle movement of the head. And back into center. Let the arms shake out a minute. If you need to move the feet and the legs just to have a break. But if you can cope with a little bit more movement here with the legs wide. Okay, so whether you keep your toes out of this position or you prefer to have your toes in front of your heels, up to you. So we've still got the hands in the same position, prayer position, but this time we're doing a flowing movement. We're breaking down all what we've been doing, and we're just rocking from side to side, snake-like, flow-like, and the hands can come away from the body a little bit more, do bigger gestures as we kind of find this swimming dragon-y type movement. So there's a little bit of work of foot to foot, so a little bit of work of hand on hand. And then there's a feeling of flow. Doesn't have to be anything too clever. Through the body. The knees will cope with this sort of movement. Creaking floorboards today. Probably only 2 or 3 creaking floorboards, but I was fine. So it's a different flow, but you can feel the movement from each foot. It's more of a spiraling movement. Center. And from the swimming, we're going to take one hand to the side of the leg. so that we could take weight down that leg. Bend this knee slightly, can't see that's what's going on. Push through the leg to straighten it and swap the hands over. So there's a sliding of the arm gently down the leg, but the knee bends slightly. So there's more weight goes through the foot. The foot gently pushes you back up as this leg straightens. Hand lands on pelvis. So we can slide down the other leg, slightly bending that knee. The outside edge of the leg, pushing me gently back up, but only softly. So right effort for movement. Don't need a lot, we're not running right now. But hopefully some of the principles can be adapted, or you could just see this as a kind of recovery work like we did last week. We'll be changing intensities and things as the weeks go on. How do we adapt and change to that? Okay. And pause. So we can get the legs back together. So we will be doing the movements that we've been doing sequencing around warrior 1 and warrior 2 and the side angle and the reverse warrior with these different variations that we were doing last week. What we're going to do though is we're going to think about how we get into those positions differently. So and see how it feels. It might feel exactly the same. It might not work with where our mind-body connections are, but because we've done a lot of work with kind of where we push from, where we initiate, giving weight to the foot and pushing away, that this kind of thing will hopefully relate to where we're going next. So we start at the front of our mat and we're going to be stepping back into warrior, so we can let the arms just relax and release, maybe move the fingers a little bit, relieve any tension there. Okay, so if you think more, sorry, not think you need to do, if you bend this leg that's going to step back and you're on the ball of the foot and there's a little push off to land and then raise the arms. So coming forward, you are using the arms, but a little bit of a bend and a push off, a little bit of a bend and a push off, a little bit of a bend and a push off. So that might not work for everybody in terms of knees. So if that feels like there's too much going on in the knee, then you do what you normally do, which is more of a flow from the upper body. But we're just trying something different out. So maybe prayer hands and then onto toes, bent knee, and then out into your warrior. Back knee slightly bent, right, back heel off. Push forward, back into prayer. Bent knee, push off, back into warrior. Bent knee, push off, back into. So next time we come into our warrior 2, we're going to stay there to do the side angle and reverse warrior variations, particular way. So hold the foot, push off. So it's not like we're not using the arms. But it's like there's more of a balance to that movement. But as I say, if it doesn't work, or it can't quite make sense, don't worry about that. Okay, so we're going to go from warrior to side angle. So if you bend the knee this time, if you come into it, you bend the knee a little bit more than you were before, and then you push off, but keep the knee bent to get yourself over a little bit more into reverse. If you bend that knee, push off a little bit to come back over, more to the side angle. Go down to come up, push off a little bit on that side. Push off. push off, push off, push off. Okay. So for me, it's quite a different feeling using the legs to using the arms. And effectively, we're doing the same thing. It doesn't matter if it's like smaller movements, really smaller movements, fine. And back to warrior. So we're going to see if we can get back to the front. Been here a while. So I'm going to raise the back heel off the floor so I've got more weight through the back toes, bend the back knee, push myself back without over pushing. How much effort does it take to get that back foot to the front? So there's going to be more effort in these movements than there was in the previous. Okay, so the second side, hands together. So we've got this now. So bent knee onto your toes to drift back into your first warrior. Bend your back knee, slight push off to bend onto the toes. Slight push off, bend the foot, maybe raise the back heel slightly and push yourself off. So finding that rhythm. There's at least some initiation coming from the leg, not just relying on the arm swing. So yeah, when we're running, we are going to move between work with the legs and more work with the arms. Most of us are doing work with the legs, but obviously we do need to use the arms, particularly on hills, to get us up there. Okay, so next time you're in your warrior, then and just see how it feels to move between the two, maybe just for one movement. And then you're going to push from the back leg, push from the front leg, push from the back leg, push from the front leg. So there will be work, yeah, and there's different muscles being used, particularly with that back leg push off, different muscles in the calves. So sometimes there's more effort going on, but it still feels more easeful. Difficult to explain. And particularly when we're kind of doing things differently and we're working out, okay, with our head, what muscles, what positioning we need to find. It can be a bit harder work. Okay, let's come forward. Okay, so we shake out anything you need to do. So we're going to the warrior one movement. So this time, remember, keep the pelvis forward. We're not opening out like that. We're just stepping back. So we can do the same thing. We can come onto the ball of the foot. We're going to step back with and step back. Doesn't do very well for me. Okay, and then we go down. So the knee comes slightly further forward, but I don't want it to come too much further than the being above the ankle. And then we push a little bit, bring the arms down, we go down, as the arms float up. push back, we sink down, we push through the foot, arms come down, sink down. Okay. Just leave the arms down for a moment. Okay, so push down, sorry, drop down, and then push and take the arms up, and sink down. So the opposite. Push a little bit, take the arms up, and drop down with the arms. Push and drop down. Push and drop down. Okay, so bending the back knee slightly, coming onto the ball of the back foot, pushing off and landing. So there's different ways we can do that. So this is the traditional way was the first way, and then the second way was, well, this give me more of a kind of coordination, more feeling that the body's working together to rise and fall, to rise and fall. Okay, the second side. It's the ball of the back foot, but obviously with the bent knee to do that. And stepping back, making any little amendments that you need to so you feel safe. Okay, so sweeping the arms up, sinking down that front leg, pushing down through the front leg as the arms come down, sitting down more, and then slightly less bent leg, sitting down, pushing through the foot, and then arms down. Okay, so this time, as we go down, as we sweep the arms up, we keep the legs where they are, and then we bend more as we bring the arms down, so that knee comes forward, push through the foot, slightly less of a bend in the knee as we take the arms up, sink with the arms down, push particularly through above the foot. So the front knee's always bent, but there's a kind of less of a bend and more of a bend. So one. Bend the back leg, push off to the front of your mats. And relax. So any shaking out you need to do. Hey. So we're going to do a bit more on one leg. Been a while since we did the one leg version of the runner earlier on. So for this one, I'm going to turn my foot out. So I'm going to externally rotate slightly. And I'm going to have my hands initially on my hips. And then I'm going to raise that leg and just take the opposite arm out. So this is external rotation, and the other arm is giving me a counter pose. And back. So we're kind of reaching out, and then we're coming back to center. Reaching out, and we're coming back to center. So I'm trying to remember to keep that external rotation when I land. From center, reaching out. Center, reaching out with knee, hand. Okay. So we'll do the other side. So toes out. And maybe onto the toe as we reach out and back, away from center and back, away from center and back, away from center and back. Okay. So we're going to try a slightly different version of tree. So we've done a little bit of external rotation there, a little bit on one leg. And we were kind of sort of saying move from center as we did that and back. So with this one, it's more of a rise and then return. So the hands are going to rise above the head as you pick the foot into the traditional pose. So we go in here and down. You can keep the foot out in that external rotation. Up, we're rising and we're returning. We're rising and we're returning. We're lengthening and we're returning. Rise and return. Shake out anywhere you need to. And other side, so the foot starts already at that external rotation. Prayer mode. And lengthen. And return. Rise. Return. Return. That's a quick return. Rise. Return. The softness, says he. Rise. Turn. And return. Okay. So one hand to belly, one hand to chest for a moment. If you're happy to close your eyes, just close your eyes or just lower the gaze. Feel hands on the body. Might feel the heartbeat. Might feel the movement through the hands of the breath. And then taking the hands just to the sides of the rib cage. So we're not looking to do anything with the breath, we're just looking to feel the hands and any sense of the body. Okay. And then hands onto pelvis. And then bending the legs, bending the knees as you breathe out. Straighten them as you breathe in. And that sense of pushing slightly from the foot as you breathe in to lengthen through the legs. And giving weight through the feet as you breathe out. Little movements. To the earth on the breath out. Rise again on the breath in. Relax. Open the eyes. Let the hands have a little bit of a shake out. Shake out the legs. Shoulders, whatever, to just loosen a little bit. Okay, folks. So hopefully some of that makes sense in terms of how we kind of make relationships with the body, the pushing off, the rise and the fall, how we relate arms to legs. So yeah, enjoy playing, and I will see you next week for week 3 for right effort, ease for running. Okay, have a good week, everyone. Bye for now.